All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, the 12th of May. Quick sound check here. We'll get jumping on in. Hope everybody had a good, relaxing weekend. The Bulls had a good weekend, that's for sure. We have got the NQ up almost 4%, S&P's up 3%, the YM up 2.5%, Bitcoin up 0.7%, and the RUT up 4.3%. Some pretty impressive stuff here, guys, and let's go do this. Look at the QQQ on a monthly time frame. All right, and you had the big rally off of your 21 EMA. We're pushing. You had a quick pullback. We're left with a perfect 15. Really good trend, really good structure, and good momentum. So no issues there. And then on the weekly QQQ, or QQQ futures, the pop here gets you back above your 21 EMA, back above your 50 SMA, back above the trailing stop. And the score does lean a little bit bullish. 6 points out of 15. If we drop down to the daily NQ, you've got momentum back above 0. You have your 21 back above your 50. Prices back above the 21, back above the 50, back above the trailing stop, and back above the 200 SMA. It leans bullish. It's not picture perfect, but 9 out of 15 is pretty respectable. So here's the key, guys. Can they stick the landing? All right, big short squeeze pop, big gap up. Initial reaction to the news. Mark up that 20,300 NQ. That'll be a really big over-under level. All right, get the initial pop. Let them squeeze out all the shorts. I think a little bit more important, the first decent pullback, can we keep it above that 20,300? All right, they pump it into, NQ 21K. And then the first pullback, we're back down to 20,300, 20,019.5. It's way too much of a give back. If the thinking is, all right, the Bulls have finally got something to work with, maybe for a path back up towards these all-time highs. If they can keep it above that 23, I think they might have a decent chance here. So my game plan for today is just not trying to be the first guy to buy the gap up. Plenty of things I would like to buy. QQQ being one of them, the Bitcoin futures. I want to buy some more MicroStrategy. I would like to buy some Tesla, some Zscaler, some Palantir, some Crowd. I don't got to be the first guy to do that on a big gap up. So from a day trading point of view, I'll be looking for a lot of these 15-minute, 30-minute, 5-minute squeezes. For example, right now the NQ has a 5-minute. And if they do want to take it from 20,925 into 21,000 today, I think things like good-looking 15-minute squeeze, 5-minute squeeze can make for a pretty good spot to jump in and buy it. So current 5-minute NQs, not bad. It could be a little bit cleaner. I'm looking for a perfect score of 15 and the white arrow. And then 5-minute on the S&P futures. Not bad, but I'm not getting the white arrow yet. So for a day trade game plan, I'll take my 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute squeezes. And it could be the futures. It could be cash QQQ, cash S&Ps. I want to watch Tesla, some Netflix, NVIDIA. That'll be the major focus for today. All right, let them gap it up. Let them squeeze out all the shorts. And if they want to keep that short squeeze going after the open, just give me a decent 15-minute, 5-minute squeeze. Then I can jump in and get my piece. But I think that'll be the key, guys. Next decent flush. Keep it in as simple as possible. The 200 SMA on your daily time frame. Really big over-under level. So let them gap it up. Let them pump it. Maybe later today, maybe later tomorrow. S&P futures back down to 58.25-ish. If they can do a good job of holding above that 200 SMA, I think you try to find a spot to buy that dip. So it's either a long on a lower time frame squeeze or a long on a dip. two things I'm looking for now. But all right, couple of things we're watching here. One would be Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. And I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday, we jumped in and bought the June expiration debit spreads. 490, 500 call debit spread. And we got a gap up into 423, 425 coming. Yeah, decent gap, nothing too crazy. What I like here would be the weekly squeeze. You got a big weekly squeeze back here. All the chop, white arrow, big push off a squeeze. A little pullback, a little back and forth. Now you're getting a brand new white arrow. So all the compression from the squeeze and the trend, the momentum, the structure. If they can keep on getting that going, I think you're looking for a path into 490, 500. So I think out the money calls, out the money debit spreads, out the money butterflies could make a lot of sense here. We have the 490, 500 for June. But that should move hand in hand here with the Bitcoin futures. And they've got a good looking 2-hour squeeze, good looking 3-day squeeze, and pretty good looking weekly squeeze. If we go check the 3-day here, if that fires, I could have a path into 113, 115K. I think the bigger move eventually comes off the weekly squeeze. So $1 million question is, can they get a white arrow? We're back here from July until October, November. A lot of back and forth, big chop fest, big weekly squeeze. Then they finally get all the alignment. Compression, in and uptrend, really good structure, finally getting momentum. That kicks off your push from 70K into about 110K. Decent stuff. And a little pullback, a little chop. You again get another brand new weekly squeeze. And we're chopping, we're chopping, we're chopping. They're pretty close to getting that white arrow. They've got the trend, they've got the structure, they have to get the momentum. If they can get that, I think you're looking for a path into 120K, maybe a little bit higher. Not in a direct shot, of course, but over the course of a few weeks. So Bitcoin futures we're liking, we are long MicroStrategy. And then let's go take a peek here at Tesla. Tesla into 320-ish. Not too bad at all. 320 takes you. Yeah, it's a nice pop. So look at the weekly for Tesla. It might not be the perfect weekly chart. You don't have stacked EMAs. You don't have MACD above zero. But if they can keep it above the weekly 21 EMA around 300, I would work that same game plan. Buy it on a dip or buy it on a lower time frame, 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute squeeze. If they can keep it above 300, they should have room to run here. And it's doing a little running here into the open. So again, I'm not going to buy the open, but I would buy a dip. I would buy the next, good-looking 5-minute, 15-minute squeeze. Shall not chase it. NVIDIA opening up into 120, 122-ish. If they can stick the landing on the indexes, I think you're looking for 125-ish on NVIDIA. Would kind of fit the theme of everything popping back to and above a 200 SMA. So they're going to pop it into about 120. That's a nice pop. That's a nice popper for you. Yeah, give me a gap up, give me a little chop. Then I'll jump in, maybe buy those calls for, depending where I can buy it. The idea would be a 125 call for, if not for this Friday, then not for next Friday. All right, gap it up a little chop. You catch end of day 15-minute, 5-minute squeeze. Then you're grabbing a few of those 125s. All right, quick peek here at Meta. Meta into 630. The Google into, well, not that impressive. Google into 157, Apple into 211. If the Bulls can get Apple back on board, or if we take a look at the spreadsheet here, Apple is second from last place on the Big Ten. Google had negative 84 and Apple had negative 63. And as we all know, Apple's a pretty big piece of the puzzle. So if they can even get that above, yeah, 205 to 210, that can make for more of a stable Apple, and a stable Apple can make for a better QQQ. If it's Apple down to 190, 180, 170, it ain't helping Mama Market. So pretty good pop there. And then what about the one they call Microsoft? I believe you got a call wall here at 150. Not 150, 450. Yeah, Microsoft call wall at 450. And they're going to open around 447. Which wouldn't be my favorite trade. I mean, a 450, big number, big level, previous level of resistance, big call wall. I lean a little bit more towards a Tesla or an NVIDIA. But all right, looking outside of the Big Ten, a couple things I like on the main watch list, which I do think will change today. Given the news over the weekend, if the big money wakes up and they want to buy the tech stocks, they want to buy the Googles, NVIDIAs, big tech, big semis, Mag 7, the other things could work, but maybe not as good. Other things being your Boeings, your BKs, Travelers, Paychecks, a MasterCard, a GE, John Deere. You got the Monster Beverages, the TJ Maxxes. What I do think could work really well would be, some Palantir, some Zscaler, of course, the Bitcoin futures, MicroStrategy. But a couple on the board here. So Zscaler has a really, really nice weekly squeeze. What a tough one. Gap it into 240. I've been wanting to buy a pullback since 220. And Zscaler said, hold my beer. Really, really clean weekly squeeze with earnings coming up on the 29th. So I don't think I'm going to get my pullback buy before earnings. To then jump in, buy my calls, try to catch a push before the announcement. Cutting it a little too close, but yeah, what a beauty. Putting earnings aside, 260, 270. I think a decent target on that Zscaler weekly squeeze. From that, we can jump over to Crowd. Crowd, another good-looking weekly squeeze. Targets around 500. And earnings on that bad boy aren't until the 3rd of June. 420 at the open. Hey, that's not too bad there, guys. Ooh, I kind of like that one. A plus on the weekly squeeze, A plus signals on the 3-day squeeze. And they're going to open about, $5 or $10 shy of that daily buy zone. 409, 410. That's the launching pad. Yeah, that might be a trade here at the open. See how she opens, check for a lower time frame squeeze, lower time frame buy signal. But I like the idea of grabbing a couple calls here around that 410, 420. So Crowd, couple weeks out from earnings with a beautiful weekly squeeze. Let's go jump to the one that I haven't caught yet, Palantir. The one that got away. Good looking weekly squeeze. It fired about what'll now be 3 weeks ago. Gap it into 121-ish. So here's what I would like. Then we'll see if the market cares. What I would like is, a little bit more chop around the 120, 115-ish. Then they can maybe begin to print a brand new daily squeeze, which I think would be a beautiful pattern. I know. Daily squeeze back here, rally off your 21, gap down, little chop, brand new daily squeeze. That kicks off a path into 135, 140. On paper, sounds like a good time. But if I can't catch Palantir on a daily squeeze, I want to catch it on a 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute, or a 5-minute squeeze. Taking them where we can get them. I think that's a bulk of it, though, guys. Again, it might very much be a market rushing back into to Mag 7 semiconductor names. So I wonder a name like a Monster Beverage, a beautiful daily squeeze, really nice 1 hour, good looking 2 hour. I think a lot to like here, but will this be the kind of thing that's working? Or a better way to word it, will this work as good as an NVIDIA, a QQQ, a Tesla, a Google, an Apple, an Amazon? To be determined. But that one's a beauty. And then we did have some TJ Maxx last week. And I'm sure now that I sold it, it'll gap up 100 points. If they can get through 130, it's been a pretty tall task as of late. But if they can get through 130, they might have a path into 134-ish. Solid looking, but we dumped that one for a tiny little loss back on Friday. All right, guys, let me check these little squeezes here on the futures, and then any questions for me, any chart requests, I shall get caught up in the chat. Okay, NQ 15-minute, 5-minute. Any buy trigger. I'm doing the open in both rooms this morning. That will be one trade we're looking for. All right, get the initial ramp, pumping, 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 and then from, call it 6 o'clock in the morning until the cash open, a little bit more range bound, very choppy. If they can take that 5-minute squeeze and get a white arrow going, that might give you another like higher towards 21 and change. We'll be there for it. And then what else we got here? 5-minute on the ES. We want to avoid that. My trend label is blue. Think of blue as sideways. My structure label is green. Think of green like higher. And my momentum label is red. Red, of course, means lower. So I've got one pointing sideways, one criteria pointing higher, and the other set of criteria pointing lower. It's never going to be an easy trade. Right? Too much back and forth, too much of a tug of war. If I can wait until that 5-minute chart has a squeeze and trend pointing higher, structure pointing higher, momentum pointing higher, it's a much better numbers game at that point. Example would be the 5-minute from Friday's close on MicroStrategy. All right, that I can work with. Perfect score of 15, bullish trend, bullish structure, bullish momentum, A plus or taking the bus. But all right, y'all, I got about 10 or so minutes here to hang out, so let me get caught up in the chat, see what you got. And then folks in my room and folks in the Mastering the Trade room, I've got the pleasure of taking y'all through the open. All right, good morning, Frank SOXL. Hope you had a good weekend, Frank. Yeah, nice gap up coming here into about, call it $17 and change. My game plan for most things today, being that most things should catch a pretty solid gap up, and not the easiest game plan to work from an emotion standpoint, but my plan is just be patient, a little bit of that hurry up and wait mentality, And whether it's NVIDIA or the Soxel or Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, QQQ, I want to buy it on a dip or I want to buy it on a 5-minute, 15-minute squeeze. Then call for that continued path higher. But yeah, good looking gap up there. Keep an eye on that $20 level. $20 is your weekly 21 EMA. And I think for a short-term push, that's a pretty good target. They might want to go sniff that weekly 21 EMA out. Hey, good morning, Debbie. Always nice to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. Rama, Uber and TJ Maxx. Okay, Uber the goober. Not a bad looking weekly. All right, earnings are behind it. It has a good looking 3-day squeeze, and they're gapping that bad boy into about 85 and change. And here's the thing, guys. Today could be a great day to buy the gap up. Could be a day where they gap up the QQQ 3.5%, and then we finish off the session up 4.5 or 5%. Could happen. For me, it's going to be I'm buying it on a dip, and that could be a dip to a 2-minute or a 5-minute 21 EMA. Not a huge gap fill, not a huge pullback, just a little shaking of the tree or catching it on 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute squeezes. And I think that 3-day squeeze on Uber, could make it a great place to do exactly that. You look for the entry on a shorter term time frame, but bigger picture, you could have a lot of wind at your back if they do fire that 3-day squeeze long. So pretty sharp. And then again, TJ Maxx, beautiful daily squeeze. We closed it for a tiny 10% loss last week. Here's the reason. Which again, this might all change here at the open. But when I bought the TJ Maxx calls, this was my 1-hour chart. Like 1-hour squeeze, perfect score of 15, perfect trend, the structure, stacked EMAs. I could not have asked for better alignment. And with that perfect alignment, perfect 15-minute, perfect 30, perfect 1-hour, 2-hour, even had a perfect 4-hour squeeze. They can't get through that 130. Right? They're trying, they keep on trying. Then they hit a point where Friday afternoon, my 1-hour chart was no longer perfect. Or my 4, or my 30-minute, or my 15-minute, or my 5-minute. So I've got these calls I bought about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when everything was as lined up as possible. I couldn't get a breakout, couldn't get my paycheck. And now with the shot clock ticking about a week and a half until expiration, they still can't get the job done. And then I'm losing my 4-hour buy signal. I'm losing my 2-hour, my 30, my 15. So now I'm at a point where I'm long a good looking daily squeeze, but from the ground up, nothing says, hey, here comes a giant breakout. And when things pointed towards, hey, there might be a giant breakout, they couldn't quite get it to break out. When you can buy a call, hold on to it for a week and change, and then dump it for 10% loss, 15, 20, it's a pretty good exchange. You give it a little bit more time, try to fight through it, wait for a few more buy signals, then you're down 30%, 40, 50. A better way to word it, if I wasn't already long TJ Maxx on Friday, and I asked myself, would I buy the thing all over again right here, right now? At that point in time, the answer would have been no. Again, I love everything about the daily squeeze, but I only want to buy a daily squeeze when I've got, good looking 15-minute and my 30-minute chart says let's go higher. My 1-hour chart says let's go higher. Good looking daily squeeze, no trigger for the immediate push. Now with a gap into 130, that should change. 5-minute chart should go bullish, maybe the 15. Then it's a matter of can they get through 130. If they do, I think it's a nice path into 134, 135 ish. To break or not to break? Yeah, good patience. Mike, good morning, Mike. Mike has some of the May 16th 415 calls. Should you sell them? Okay, so you got the calls that expired this Friday. You're catching about a $6 or a $7 gap up. Here's what I would do. And I think the less time you have till expiration, the more you want to do this. Okay, so you have the MSTR. Was it May 16th? Well, regardless, let's call it you have MSTR trade number 1. Oh, what's happening there? There we go. Hang tight, guys. We're going for a ride here. This is like Thinkorswim on shrooms. All right, how the heck do I get out? Escape, escape, escape. Oh, there we go. Thank God. Okay, take 2. So here's what I would do. To make the math nice and easy, you've got these calls at the open. And for the sake of conversation, let's just say at the open you have $1,000 of open profit. So MSTR trade number 1 equals $1,000 of open P&L. All right, so here's what I would do. I'd do 2 things. 1, sell the calls, book the $1,000 of profit. 2, turn around, risk. I'm going to say $250. It could be any fraction. But I'm going to take the gap up. I'm going to sell the calls. I'm going to book the $1,000 of profit. Then I can immediately turn around, take say $250 of the profit, on a new, cheaper, further out the money trade. Right. They're going to gap it up into 420 and change. I would take the theoretical $1,000 of profit, and then you could take $100 of the profit. You could take 200, 250. You could take half of the profit. Figure out some fraction you can live with, and then you may be buying a 450, 475 call for this week. Something cheap, further out the money, good asymmetric risk reward. Now you're in a really, really great spot. Your worst case scenario is you take your $1,000 of profit, you risk 250 of that on new calls, and the thing falls apart. Net, you're up $750. Worst case scenario. It's not too shabby. Best case scenario, they keep on pumping it, and they take it into 440, 450, 460 this week, and you keep on pulling in more profit. That's what I would do. Put yourself in a position where you've taken the bulk of the profit off the table, but then to satisfy the FOMO, the greed, all the other emotions, you maybe keep a couple of contracts open, you roll out into a new trade, keep a little bit of skin in the game. As silly as it sounds, I found mornings where I might make $10,000 on, say, NVIDIA, and then even taking $200 of that profit, it's less than 2% or something. No, it is 2%. Even taking 2% of that profit, buying a few cheap NVIDIA calls, it just satisfies that urge to jump back in. And, what if I leave cash on the table? What if NVIDIA gaps up tomorrow? Woe is me. I found it really helpful. So that, my good friend, is what I would do on the micro strategy. Being that your calls are shorter dated. All right, guys, couple more here. TTD and AMAT. Oh, God, I'm doing it again. Okay, TTD gapping into 74 and change. I don't have too much that I like here across the bigger time frames. But you should find it on maybe your next 5-minute squeeze, 15-minute. And it does look like your lower time frames are trying to shape up. 2-hour buy signal, a 1-hour buy signal, a 30-minute. So I think you'll find your edge for a long on lower time frames. Okay, costs go into 10, 20-ish here. That should fire the 1-hour. Yeah, Costco's not too bad. Momentum line back above 0, 21 back above the 50. Maybe play the over/under game around $1,000. If they can keep it above $1,000, you look to buy it on a 5-minute, 15-minute, or a 30-minute squeeze. It's got a good foundation to it for that kind of trading. But all right, y'all, I got to jump here into the next couple of rooms. Take those good folks to the open. But yeah, don't be in a big rush. You don't got to buy the open. Don't got to short the open. Uh, great way to look at it. And to be clear, I am not calling for a push back to the all-time high. Ask me again on Wednesday. But good way to look at it mentally. If the gap up is day one of a path back into the all-time highs, you don't got to be in the big rush. You're gonna find your dips. You're gonna have your consolidations, your 15-minute squeezes, 30-minute hourly squeezes. There'll be a decent bust coming at some point. Not calling for a push back towards an all-time high, but I think a healthy way to look at it. But all right, y'all, go get them. I wish you all the best of luck. Be patient, be disciplined, follow your game plan. Couple good trades per week can make your week, and you don't need much more than that. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you all same time, same channel on Wednesday morning. Adios.